Shalom. Shalom. Be on the beats. Trying to write this stuff backwards for you guys. But having trouble. Especially when you're trying to spell something that has a B and a D and you're trying to write it backwards, because the B and the D look different forward. So it's like, okay, am I supposed to make the B or make the D since I'm writing it backwards? If that makes sense. Oh, there is a fifth one. There is a fifth one. Alright. I'll squeeze it in. Shalom. Shalom, everyone. As you guys make fun of me writing backwards. What time we got? Oh, it's time already. Hold on, let me write this real quick. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Let's do that. It's gonna be a short service because I had to take care of some business. Praise the Almighty. Welcome, welcome, welcome to True Hebrews United, the Almighty Yeshua. Yeshua, beloved, holiness instructor, discipleship, drill sergeant, about to get into the book as usual. There we go. Definitely give all honor to the Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth and all that is in therein. Appreciate you guys. Skip the part. Through his son Yeshua Mashiach, double honors to the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the teachers, the elders, bishops, the deacons across the whole planet. Persuading people to repent from their sins and come to this gospel before it's everlasting too late. Also, all the brothers and sisters keeping the Almighty's commandments, statutes, judgment, precepts, and ways. Pray for the believers in Nigeria and in Congo. The Muslims are killing them. They'll go and kill the father and kidnap the kid and have the mother pay the ransom. And a lot of them are losing their lands to Muslims because they're selling all their resources to get their kids back. And then because they sell their land and their houses, other Muslims will go and buy those houses. So not only are they losing the husband, they target the husband of believers. That's why I have no no sympathy for Muslims. I don't like that religion. Buddhism and Hinduism that are peaceful. You do you, you do you. But Muslims, I don't like that because they say, oh, those are extremists that rape little 8-year-old girls. Those are extremists, but you don't stop them. It's no different than a police banging and using police brutality and the other 2 cops. I didn't do it, but you didn't stop him. You didn't report him. So the good Muslims aren't doing nothing to the bad Muslims. They're not going to war over that. So, hey, silence is consent. That's why it's like, I don't even play with that. Oh, I'm Muslim and all that stuff. Look at what they're doing. They're killing believers. You're no different than a Catholic. Catholics in the Knight Templar, they forced Catholicism on Mexico. Everywhere these Catholics went and these Knight Templars went, they forced you to be a Catholic. They use religion to force their will and take people's resources. They are no different and have the same bloody hands that Catholics do. Catholics were kidnapping children of political officials and raising them up as their own. They kidnapped, look it up, 85,000 people reported to be kidnapped by the Catholic Church. So it's like, that stuff, I'm glad I really don't have to deal with that too much, but hey, I'll be preemptive. I won't let it happen to my kids prior to. If I knew that, we won't even go there. I don't play that game. But anyways, pray for the people in Nigeria, the believers in Nigeria and in the Congo. They are killing pastors, people that believe in the Bible. Do I know if they're keeping the Sabbath or not? I don't know. But I know they're trying to hold their faith and they're willing to die for the Holy Scriptures. So pray for them as well. Persecution already started for them. So definitely thank all the brothers keeping the commandments, even to their end, you know. We're very fortunate to be able to serve the Almighty in peace for now. But there's people serving the Almighty not knowing what's going to happen to them or their children or their wives, you know. So you guys can look it up if you want. There's a little documentary or journalist one out there too. So all the brothers and sisters across the world, all the people on Facebook and YouTube that share, like, and subscribe to the channel, I appreciate you. I want you guys to make it into the kingdom. I want you guys to be saved. It will be a shorter service. Last week I was a little long-winded. Today I got to do the news. It'll be a shorter service so than normal. I'll bring the news. But I want to, did I already say thanks to the people that share, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel? I appreciate you guys. If you guys don't know, we have a YouTube channel. Check it out. We've been neglecting it for a while, but now I'm pushing people to the YouTube channel, get some algorithm. That way we can reach more people that they might be saved. So some little information that came to my mind. When you're going to deal with people, we're going to get into scripture though. Don't worry about that. We're going to get into the book. So when you're dealing with people in general, especially on Facebook or even on the job site, most people that are, some of them are fake or whatever, or have a hard time taking accountability, and are, there's another subcategory too. I'll do this one in a little bit. They always do the same thing, and they're going to fall into these brackets. Let me write this last one real quick. Some down here. All right, so you're dealing with a controversial topic. It could be with your girlfriend, it could be with your boyfriend, it could be with anything that they're guilty of, it could be when you're trying to get the facts, anything. The first thing someone do, this is not always in order, but they'll ask a question. And when you ask a question with a question, you're disingenuous out the gate. Oh, so where were you last night? Why you want to know where I'm? See? And that ties into the deflection, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But anytime someone asks you a question with the question, either one that's given them time to think of a lie, typically, and or it's another form of deflection. Because why won't you just answer the question? And you'll see this typically with women, but men do it too. They answer a question with a question. That is a disingenuous person. Maybe not in their entirety, but in that certain topic of asking them a direct question and you want a direct answer, or they'll tell you a story and not get what the answer the question, they'll beat around the bush, like politicians are good at it. That's one way. That's how you spot this right away. So you can nip these things in the bud. The second thing they'll do is they'll deflect. Like they'll be like, when we're dealing with the topic, men's got to step it up and do A, B, and C. And then the man's like, but what about what the woman ain't doing? It doesn't matter. You are deflecting accountability, because right now, at this very second, we are dealing with men stepping it up in such and such area. This is what we're topic. This is the topic. Do not deflect to another topic. Let's deal with the topic at hand. All right. So you're going to, and I want you guys, because you're going to now, every time you get in a conversation or a debate or an argument or something controversial, it don't have to be a bad thing or whatnot, you're going to see these tactics that deflect. Typically on Facebook, I get women deflect. Oh, well, what about the man ain't doing? We're not dealing with this. My post is dealing with women right now. I'll do my post on what the man ain't doing on another day, right? After that, they'll go into gaslighting. I seen this video where this man was upset because he was cleaning the house and he found Plan B. And for years, he was trying to have kids, and his wife behind his back was taking birth control and not telling him. And so he found it. And first thing she did, or when a man or a woman gets cheating, they try to gaslight, make sure you're to make it as you're the bad guy. They always want to be the victim. If someone gaslights you, that's a clear sign. Stay away from those people. You know what I'm saying? It sucks if it's your mom or whatnot, but just try to stay away. And she was like, oh, you're always gone. We don't have time for kids. We're always gone. So you're going to secretly, and you could tell in his voice, he was very disappointed, because his whole time he was thinking he didn't have the ability to have kids. So he was down to himself. Lo and behold, she's sneaking behind his back, right? And when you catch a dude cheating, oh, it's because you're never home. You're not there for me. You don't comfort me. Oh, you work too much. When it's the woman, oh, you work too much. And this is the gaslight, because they got caught, or they don't want to take accountability for their actions. So they're going to try to pawn it on you and say, it's because you don't spend time with me. It's because you work too much. It's because you're never there. It's because whatever, right? Instead of dealing with the fact that you got caught cheating. And anyone who gaslights, even as a friend, you don't want those type of people, because when they do you wrong, which they probably will, when they backstab you, they're not going to take accountability. So then why would they ever apologize if they're always the victim? They're never the culprit. Why would they would never take accountability for their actions. So in their mind, they're never wrong. And because they're never wrong, it doesn't bother them to backstab you again. So if people can't repent, when we repent in the Almighty, we stop and we turn from our wicked ways. But if you don't acknowledge that it's wrong, why would you stop doing it? And these people that typically are delusional, I'll deflect it on you, and I'm justified in cheating on you because you work too much. I'm justified. You can't be so upset. Okay? So it could be anything controversial too. The next one you get is when you're these two is when you're bringing facts and statistics. While you say, hey, it's proven that single parent homes, single parent fathers do better than single parent mothers, and you guys should, when your kid gets roughly 12, you mothers should give your sons to the father. This and this, and they put up their walls, and they try to get upset, and these two, they're dealing off emotion. More likely it's emotion, because we have proven through studies, this is a fact. Single parent mothers do worse. It's almost like single parent fathers are equal with the standard and the product they produce as adults with a nuclear home, mother, father, and children. They're up there like neck and neck. It's way better to get your sons and daughters with the father than to be a single parent mother. And so they'll fight, and they're like, oh, that's not true, and they'll be anecdotal. Let's look at a couple things, because I already snapshot this, so do screenshots real quick. And here we go. So, they will be a outlier. So they'll use anecdotal, which is, let me deal with that real quick. is not necessarily true or reliable because it's based off a personal account rather than facts or statistics. And so they'll say that's not true because I'm a single parent mom and both my sons went to college. That will make you an outlier. So the definition of an outlier is a person or thing situated away or detached from the main body or system. A person or thing different from all other members, particular group or set. So the vast majority of single parent mothers produce the most people that are prostitutes, OnlyFans, in jail, drug dealers, suicides. So just because you're anecdotal and you are an outlier, you're detached from the norm, does not make the majority of the statistics is true that kids fare better with the father. So if we bring these facts, they'll run and be an outlier, or they'll use their personal experience and to out-justify. The next one they do, and typically it's because they're led by emotion, not by facts, is you say, no, you shouldn't do abortions because that's wrong. And the first thing people that are pro-abortion is they say, what if she's raped? The vast majority of people that have kids on this planet isn't through rape. It's through people, and the vast majority that go to Planned Parenthood is because they're probably doing something with someone they probably shouldn't be doing it with, right? Mostly out of fornication. And two, if you felt that this was a good candidate, then why wouldn't you just keep the baby? You know more than likely you're not ready, so you shouldn't have been having sex. Or the person is not a good person or make a good father, which will lead to you wanting to do that. Because if you were in a marriage, why would you want to get an abortion, right? So they'll use something like, oh, what about in this case? And or what about if she has a baby, it's going to kill the mother. Yeah, that 1%. And when we deal with the minority, the smaller number apart, especially the number that is less than half of the whole number. So when I tell people, if we're going to talk about a topic, we're going to talk about it from the side of the majority and not use the minority, that 1% woman that she'll die if they don't abort the kid. And now we should justify all these reckless people having reckless sex and having kids out of wedlock and doing abortion just for a minority, a subgroup. And if these two are like hand in hand, outliers and anecdotal, you know what I'm saying? Asking a question is still a form of deflection as well, but that just buys them time sometimes to come up with a reason or whatnot. And so they try to deflect. So once again, though, when someone uses their personal experience, you can say, yeah, but I'm dealing with the majority. I'm not dealing with you. The majority of people aren't being a single mother and raising kids that both of their kids go to college. You're an outlier. That you don't apply to the norm. The majority of them are ending up in prison or on drugs or suicide or OnlyFans or prostitutes, right? Or drugged out, right? So whenever they want to use the minority, that is also just like deflection because you're being disingenuous. You know the majority of people that want abortions isn't because they're going to die if they have the kid or isn't because they got raped, but you're going to use that small amount to justify that. And that's disingenuous. Like, why? We're dealing with something that applies to everybody, and you're going to use a 1% and justify that the other 99%. So whenever you're dealing, this is a time like, once I see that they start doing some of these, then there's no point to even continuing with these people because they're just fake in and of itself on that typical conversation. The next one is insults. Usually, insults is the first tool a person uses who's on the losing side of a debate or an argument. When you come with facts and statistics or historical events, and you come with proof, and they can't fight the proof because they can't fight what you're bringing, they have to attack your character. Oh, you're stupid, or oh, this, you're ignorant, you're not learned in the Bible, you're this. Because you can't attack what I'm bringing, you have to attack me. And that's typically 9 times out of 10 dealing with the majority is a person does that on the losing side of the argument because you know they can't. When you come in with truth and they can't fight that, then they're going to fight you and try to attack your character. And also the insults is a form of deflection because if you're not wise to it, you'll start defending yourself. You'll start defending yourself instead of defending the topic you're bringing, because they know they can't come after you, right? So they're going to insult you, and now you're spending more time, hey, why you call me stupid? Or now you're spending more time doing this, and then you lose sight of the topic. So usually either all in the conversation and are, all right, let's focus back on this topic. You're doing insults as a form of deflection, which is cool. You could do what you want to do, but you still haven't proved how I'm wrong on this topic. And so I used to fall into this stuff and get offended, and now I'm going back and forth, and now we're just exchanging words at each other's character instead of dealing with the topic at hand. So hopefully that helps a little bit when you deal with any person, especially on Facebook, whether you're typing, whether on the job site, whatnot. Look, we shouldn't be using these things. If we ask a question, it's not that we're asking a question with the question. We shouldn't be deflecting. We never should be gaslighted. Every once in a while, we could be anecdotal and says, from my personal experience, and you tell me, I'll tell you, yeah, that happened to me, and you share your personal experience, but I'm not going to use my personal experience to cover a wide range of people, thousands of people dealing with fornication or whatever topic it may be, right? But I'll let them know, yeah, from my personal experience, I don't fool with it because this is what happened to me, and I'll say this is anecdotal though, right? So there's nothing wrong, it's just how to use it. And I never deal with the minority. Because we preach the gospel, we deal with the majority. We don't deal with the minority because our gospel is trying to go out to everyone. I'm not using, it's like how people with the woke with Budweiser, and they're trying to appeal to a minority, a small subset, a group of people that are woke, and then you're wondering why the majority, the 95% of the rest of the population aren't feeling that woke agenda. You're trying to force that agenda. And some of these Disney and all these people trying to cater to the 5%, and they're losing sight of the 95%, right? So we shouldn't use that. And then obviously we don't do insults. If we do insult some people, it typically is from telling the truth. I'll tell people on the job, you're lazy. They take it as an insult, but I'm actually just describing your behavior. You're a sluggard. You're slothful. They won't know those words because that's biblical words. But I say, hey, you're lazy, dude. I tell these people all the time, they get offended. Why don't you just go on EBT? Go on Section 8, dude. You don't want to work. You come here and you just want something for nothing. Just go on EBT. And then they get mad. And you could tell, like, just go on EBT. And I just call it out. And they could take that as an insult. But I'm just speaking the truth. Like, bro, you're lazy. Quit being lazy. It's time to work. You get paid the same amount as me. Let's work. Let's get it together, right? So, back to what I'm saying. When you're dealing with this, hopefully you keep this in mind. And I guarantee you, someone that's disingenuous, they will do one or all or some of these. There's no way around that. They will do that. You know what I'm saying? So, hopefully that helps. Now, let's get into the scriptures. I dealt with fornication last week. I'm going to finish it off a little bit. I'm going a little light because we do have a lot of news to cover. You guys got anything with that? All right, cool. All right. So, with all that said and being done, let's let the fingers do the walking and the scriptures do the talking. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. And then hopefully Sister Winnie could bring out the shout-outs. And let's run it. If she forgot, it's all good. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1. It says, be ye therefore followers of the Almighty as dear children, and walk in love as Mashiach hath loved us, and hath given us an offering for a sacrifice for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becoming saints. It shouldn't even be, they fell into fornication. And I notice a lot of these camps and these congregations, these people keep falling into fornication. What's the problem? Are you not strict on this stuff? Are you not kicking these people out that do it? Are you letting a little leaven up the whole lump? Yes, we know that there's going to be faults in the congregation because we read in Revelation 2, Smyrna and Philadelphia, those churches did not have to repent, but the other 5, you left your first works. Stop having the doctrine of Nicolaitans. Go back to this. You're lukewarm, lest I spit you out. Yes, they were still part of the body of Mashiach, but they had things they needed to work on. In like manner, yes, we may see these problems exist with brothers and sisters, but you should be able to deal with that and not let it run rapid. It says not even one time. It shouldn't one time be named as becoming the Almighty, especially if you have something to prevent fornication, which is called marriage. They always want to circumvent. And that's the thing with people, why people aren't successful in life, because they just want the shortcut. Having sex before marriage is like doing a scratcher trying to win the lotto. Or you could get your money and try to invest in an IRA account, invest in a startup, invest in Tesla, invest in some trading, learn how to trade and invest your money, because you will not save yourself into wealth. You need to invest yourself into wealth. So they always want to find things to circumvent, and that's what it is. You are trying to circumvent not only the Bible, but you're trying to get the benefit of marriage without being married. No. If you want to be intimate, that is called marriage. So let's keep going. It says, let it not be once among you, neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know, that nor whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, have any inheritance in the kingdom of Mashiach and of the Most High. Let no man deceive you with these vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of the Almighty upon the children of disobedience. We're going to read on that in a little bit. So let's get in 1 Corinthians chapter, we're good. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It shouldn't be named once. It's like, hey, if you feel you're going to fall, this is what 1 Corinthians chapter 7 says. On it. Let's get it. Ever since I've been working with this job, man, my voice is always, every day, always strained. I'm always yelling every day. Every day. We're yelling over this loud machine. Always. Don't get time to recover. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1. Having therefore these promises dearly beloved. What is that? 2 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians. There you go. Now concerning the things wherefore you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. So it says it's good. Now, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. So it says it's good not to even touch, meaning it's not your wife. You shouldn't be holding hands. You shouldn't be hugged up. You shouldn't be kissing. You shouldn't be chilling. You shouldn't be any of that. Cuddled up on the couch. It says don't touch. The Almighty only keeps score by marriage. That's how he keeps score. So you shouldn't be holding hands and all cuddled up if it's not your wife. Now, we talked about a little bit of this the other last night on the Zooms. Appreciate you all, you people on the Zooms that jumped on the Zooms. It's a good conversation. Proverbs chapter 6. We're coming back to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, so you can bookmark that. Proverbs chapter 6. I can't wait until you guys get in a debate or a discussion with someone and you see them use those tactics, and now you know. Like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And then you could move the conversation in a way to back them into a corner to get them to take accountability. Like, let's deal with these facts, though. Oh, well, what about... No, but we're dealing with this right now. And just, let's stay on pace, right? Proverbs chapter 6, verse 24. Let's get it. To keep thee from an evil woman or a man, and from flattery of the tongue of a strange woman or a man, because a lot of guys, they could talk a woman's drawers off, right? Using flattery, right? Let's keep going. Lust not after her beauty in thy heart, neither let her take thee with thy eyelids by means of a whorish woman. A man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. And man be committing adultery too. And man got suave, or I like his swag, or I like his charisma, or he's romantic. Hey, don't give in to that. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can one go on to hot coals and his feet not be burned? So is he that goes on to his neighbor's wife who touches her shall not be innocent. But my main point I want to deal with is, can a man put fire in his bosom and not be burned? You can't take that chance. And every time you holding hands and you cuddled up, that will lead to fornication. You will not go unscathed. If I choose to fight a bear, which one day before I die, I do want to fight a bear with the spear, whatnot. But if I choose to, we just hold hands, that's where it all starts. Every person that committed fornication started off with holding hands, started off with being hugged, started off with a kiss. This is what boys used to say, I got to first base, I got the second base, I got the third base. And it's a little bit. No one chops down a redwood tree with one swing. You keep chopping. And that's every time you play around with that, a little bit of your conviction, Satan's just chopping that tree down, chopping it. One chop here, one chop there. Next thing you know, you're in fornication. How did you get here? How did you get here? And you're outside the will of, you've been outside the will of God once you start holding hands. This is good for a man not to touch a woman. Let's keep going. Give me Romans chapter 13. We're going to still go back to Corinthians. Romans chapter 13. Verse 13. Romans chapter 13, verse 13. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting or drunkenness, nor chambering, that's like going to the club, and wantonness, nor not in strife or envying. But put ye on the Lord Yeshua Mashiach, and make no provisions for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. So we don't make provisions. Let me put a condom in my wallet just in case if I fall. You're making provisions for the flesh. When you sit up and say, hey, let's go to the movies in a drive-thru, or let's do this, and you put yourself in a position where you can fall, you're putting hot coals, you're putting fire in your bosom. You're making provisions. Let's just go to our house and watch a movie with the lights off. You're making provisions for the flesh to fall into fornication. This is why fornication is so rampant. It's because no one's teaching it's good for a man not to touch a woman. To avoid fornication, get a wife. And yet, it wouldn't be the best situation where he says, I got married to her, or I got married to him because I was burning in the flesh. I get that. But, you want to find someone you're compatible with. But if you guys both serve the Almighty, right? We'll just put an A. If you both serve the Almighty, then as part of this marriage, if you guys continue to put him first, you should be all right, right? Even though you got married, so you don't fall into fornication, and it's not that you built a good friendship, and it's not that you built love and spent time into and invested into each other, but the main thing is so you don't fall into fornication. The Almighty still accept that. That's not the first best, but the Almighty still accept that you got married because you was burning, you had what you call needs that you couldn't control, and she had needs that you couldn't control, and you guys got married. Then, hey, so be it. I'm not going to frown upon it. Yes, I want the very best for my sons and my daughters. I don't want them to just marry some random, because you're going to have a lot of extra problems and extra baggage in your relationship because you married simply for sex. And that's what a lot of people do on Facebook and YouTube is she looks good and she wears fringes, and that's good enough. And they're burning in the flesh, and a lot of them lead to divorce simply because they weren't really serving the Almighty. You look for people that say they serve the Almighty and not look for people that truly serve the Almighty. But I still will honor that because that's way better than falling into fornication. It's good for a man not to touch a woman, period. No holding hands. See, the Almighty keeps score by marriage, not by boyfriend and girlfriend. But let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. First Corinthians chapter 7. Now, concerning the things you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. And let the husband run unto the wife do benevolence. And likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife have not power over her own body, but the husband. And likewise the husband have not power over his own body, but the wife. Defraud ye not one for another, except to be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourself to prayer and fasting and come together again, and seek into you not for your inconsistency. And that's dealing with marriage part. But this I speak by permission and not the commandment. For I would all were even as myself, but every man have his perfect gift of the Almighty. So he chose not to get married, one after this manner, and another after that manner. I say therefore unto the unmarried and widows, it is good for them to abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. It's better to get married, even if you says, well, we're just friends and I kind of love her, or I'm not really, I love her as a sister, but I didn't really like be in love with her, we're friends and we had enough in common. It's better to do that than to fall into fornication. And show you right here, speaking of burning, Revelations 21. Verse 7. Revelations 21, verse 7. It says, he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his Yah, and he shall be my son. But the fearful, people not having faith in the scriptures, the unbelieving, or the fearful is coward to stand for the gospel, but the unbelieving. And this could tie into you not trusting in the Most High. And we talked about a situation last night with Zooms where someone didn't have faith, and so they made a bad decision and going a route outside the will of Almighty because they didn't believe that they had time or this would happen, the Almighty could deliver them. The abominable, things doing abominable, people eating unclean meats, that's abominable. Look up abomination and look what is an abomination. People having graven images and idolatry, you're abominable. The murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all liars shall have that part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So you whoremongers out there. So when you're saying you're a boyfriend or your girlfriend, you're a whoremonger. You're a fornication. There is no such thing as boyfriend or girlfriend in the Bible. This is how it works. You're either courting, which you could translate that to dating or whatnot, either a spouse or married. When you come to a father and say, hey, I want to court your daughter to see if we're compatible for marriage, not only you show intent, you show respect. Or you go to the brother in the next of kin and say, hey, I want to, talk to sister so-and-so and see if we're compatible for marriage. That means you're ready to get married, you're ready to settle down, and you're interested in her. And it shouldn't even take that long. If both of you guys serve the Almighty, probably 6 months. Because if you knew that she's been going to the congregation and you've been going to the congregation, you already knew each other. You already knew each other's sense of humor, conversations, eating at the barbecues, eat there for the feast day, there for Sabbath service, having conversation and whatnot here and there. Kind of already got to know the person already. Then you go to the father and say, hey, and your intent out the door, day one, is to see if we're compatible for marriage. So once you see that you're compatible for marriage, then you ask to marry, and you're a spouse, and you still don't touch until the day of marriage. You know what I'm saying? If you guys fall while you're a spouse, then you're just married because you already took her and you already had witness, but you just went before the wedding day, which is dishonorable, but whatever, right? Because that once you're a spouse, that's your wife. If she slept with another dude while you're a spouse, even though you guys didn't have the wedding day, that's adultery, punishable by death. So, there is no boyfriend and girlfriend. You're a whoremonger. You're having sex outside of marriage. You're a whoremonger. And to prove that, last scripture, then we get into the news, John chapter 4. Gospel of John chapter 4. So all those people, especially at those congregations, saying that they're boyfriend and girlfriend and think they're right, mainly Christian churches think they're right, not being married. And, it's okay, because in their mind, I've heard them say, well, we're planning to get married. So you're still a whoremonger. It doesn't matter. If you die, you will die into your sins. You will die in your sins. You're still a whoremonger. Well, I'm not a whore because I'm not sleeping with multiple men, but you're doing whorish things because you're sleeping with a man that's not your husband. It's still whore. A man sleeping with a woman that's not his wife is still a whore. There's no way. Just because you give a title and it's just the same person every time, it's still a whore. If I go to the same prostitute every time, does that make me not a whore? Well, that's different. No, it's no different. It doesn't matter if you go to multiple people or one person, you're still a whoremonger. Let's keep going. John chapter 4, Gospel of John chapter 4. Verse 7. Gospel of John chapter 4, verse 7. Then cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yeshua said unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away from the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman unto Samaria, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest me to drink, which is a Samaritan? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritan. And Yeshua answered and said unto him, If thou knewest the gift of the Almighty, who is it that saith unto thee, Give me to drink, thou would have asked, and he would have given thee living water. And the woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw water, and the well is deep. From whence hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank therefore himself and his children for his cattle? Which these are false Jews, because they say our father Jacob, but they're not Hebrews. So let's keep going. And we got scripture for that. If you read in Jeremiah and whatnot, that Samaria got replaced with Gentiles. Yeshua answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh this water shall thirst again, but whoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give you shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. Check this out. And the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come here to draw. And Yeshua said unto her, Go call thy husband and come here. He went to the husband, right? Check this out. The woman said, I have no husband. Yeshua said, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast is not thy husband, and thou said truly. So you in adultery. You a whore. You had 5 husbands, and who you with now? That's not your husband. That's my boyfriend. It don't matter. And I doubt all 5 of those husbands died. So more likely than not, she's in adultery. Because you mean to tell me all 5 of those husbands died? No, you in adultery. So it says, as long as her husband be alive and she be married to another, she shall be an adulteress. She's an adultery, right? So dealing with that is, in the body of Hamashiach, we need to flee fornication. We don't push that. I remember one time there was a couple from a different congregation, and he was dating this girl, and they were holding hands. They're like, hey, can you not do that? This is what the Bible says. It's good for a man not to touch a woman. And they're like, oh, I didn't even know. And they were sour. They were sour after that, because they knew whenever they came around, they couldn't play that game. No, it says it's good for a man not to touch a woman. This is to avoid fornication. Every person that named the name of Hamashiach that's fell into fornication started off with holding hands. Started off with touching. And the next thing you know, you're outside the will of the Most High. And now you got to read that. So, we're going to get into some news now. Praise the Almighty. Get into some news. How much time we got? Cool. Flee fornication. All right. So, because of the tariffs, 10,000 UPS workers were laid off. And another 10,000 coming. So, it's going to be a total of 20,000 UPS workers because of these tariffs. 73 UPS facilities will be closing down. And the thing that I don't like about the tariffs, because I don't know what they're doing, is they gave Microsoft and Tesla a pass. Because Amazon shipped, or Apple shipped by air to get past the tariffs. I think like 6 tons of phones, because it's not coming by ship, right? To circumvent the tariffs. But then he ended up giving Microsoft and Tesla and all the tech companies, laptops and all that, passes. So then who gets hit the most? 99-cent store, Dollar Tree, Big Lots. So all the mom and pop or the smaller stores, they get hit with the tariffs. And Tesla, I get it. You need to get your microchips and your batteries and your lithium. Apple, because they didn't want, if it's 123% tariff, then then your Apple phone, instead of being $1,000, you're looking at a $2,500 Apple phone. The phones that they sell for $14, it's going to be $3,000, right? So, okay. So you let them, the billionaires and the millionaires, get the pass, but every person, the average person like me that goes to Dollar Tree or 99-cent store, now my stuff got to double. That's not right, right? So, the whole sex is marriage. I thought that was a trick. I don't know that. The whole sex is marriage. Yeah, sex isn't marriage. I'll have to teach on that. I can't really answer that very quickly. But we see that even if they had sex and they took the daughter's virginity, they had to go to the father, and the father still had to give the approval. 2, the father has power of who or who she does not marry. That's New Testament and Old Testament. So sex can't be marriage, because then that means you took his authority away. Even if you had sex with her, it says that the father could deny you access to marrying her. So that means sex is not marriage. So there's other parts of the Bible that's that with that too. But let's keep going. And then 2, to get with the people that want to fight sex is marriage. So that means your wife is a virgin. Because if your wife isn't a virgin, then that means whoever you're with, you're in adultery. Because she's not a virgin. So technically she's married to someone. So that means you're not a virgin. Oh, well, she's not with them no more? Then you need to have a bill of divorcement for whoever she lost her virginity to. She needs to be able to present the next man a bill of divorcement. Because we see that in Deuteronomy 28 or Deuteronomy 24. A bill of divorcement showing that she has been put away from that man. If she can't show you that, then hey, you in adultery. This is why the people that say sex is marriage have a double standard. They're hypocrites. It doesn't hold the weight of the truth, and it doesn't even make practical sense, because all of them are going to be in adultery. Because the majority of people that say sex and marriage ain't even with the person since they were a virgin. They're with someone that's not a virgin, and they'll say sex is marriage. And then some of those people that say sex is marriage have sex with like 3 or 4 people, 10, 12 people, 15 people. So you're taking care of all 10 of those women? Where are they at? Why aren't you taking care of them? Oh, well, exactly. But I don't want to get detour off that. So 73 facilities. There's companies out there, they don't want to buy at a higher price, because depending on Trump being unpredictable, the tariffs may drop, and now they bought millions of dollars of product at $2 when they normally got it at $1, and they can't sell it for double the amount anymore because the tariffs got lifted. And so all the other stores are selling it for $1 again, or selling it for $1.50 or whatever, and so they're going to take a loss. So a lot of these companies are just pulling back and say, I just won't sell that product. So we'll see what's up. It seems like the Democrats were tearing down the economy, and then Trump comes and finds a different way to tear down the economy, because we're still having job loss. That's 20,000. Joann's, private equity. This is what I don't like. It's closing down. All the Joann's is closing down. I didn't know that this is how this worked. I don't even know how this is legal. All right, so you have a business, right? We'll just make it a home. Then you have this private equity firm. All right, so they bought Joann's. They bought Joann's, right, for $1.6 billion, right? There you go. Billion, right? Now, they took a loan to buy this. Now, the debt, they put the $1.6 million on the debt of Joann's. Because now that Joann's got bought out, all the shareholders are gone. Instead of public, it went back to private. But they put the debt onto the business. Now, Joann's was profitable. 2024, 2023, Joann's is profitable, right? 22, whatever, right? But it can't pay this loan off. So what ends up happening? Usually within 3 years of every private equity, Joann's files for bankruptcy. Now, they sold all this, made all this money from Joann's. Joann's files for bankruptcy. They're unscathed because they got a loan to buy the business, and they always put the debt of the loan on the business that they bought and not the private equity firm. How is this even legal? How is this even legal? So now, because of that, 19,800 stores are closing down, and 19,000 people will be unemployed. because they got bought out, and with 3 years, Joann's didn't make enough money to pay off the $1.6 billion debt, and so they had to file for bankruptcy and go out of business. And from 2022 or whatnot, private equity firms have caused 600,000 job losses. 600,000 people have lost their jobs because private equity firms will buy businesses out through a loan, put the debt of the loan on the initial business they bought. And then they'll just file bankruptcy if they can't pay off the loan anyway. So it's a win-win for them. If the business still able to pay off the debt, hey, essentially you bought a business for free because you got a loan, you bought the business paid off the loan, and now you own this business and it didn't cost you anything. If it doesn't, I file for bankruptcy, and then I still made all the money from Joann's, and bam. So now because of that, 19,000 people are going to be out of business because this profitable business, Joann's, is done for. 19,000 people because of private. I don't see, how is this even legal? This should be illegal. Go ahead. So now that brings a total with UPS, and these are like, they're killing the middle class. UPS workers are middle class. People that working at the Joann's, they're struggling to be middle class. They're probably lower class. I don't know, depending on the state, if they could buy a house and whatnot. I look at middle class. If you're able to purchase a house and have maybe a car or two for your husband and wife and be able to pay off those cars, and maybe a vacation once a year, once every other year, right? Basically middle class life, right? Not super rich, but you're not in poverty. You got food in your fridge mostly all the time, whatever, right? Got a decent amount of savings, 5,000, 10,000 savings, whatever, right? You're killing off, that's 40,000 people this year are going to be looking for a job. Looking for a job. 40,000 people this year. So, let's keep going. Now, you know Charles Schwab with the WEF, finally he sat down the same day that the Pope supposedly died on 88 or something, or false Easter or whatnot. But this new guy, which used to be the head of Nestle, is even worse. The new guy for the WF, World Economic Forum, the people that's trying to rule the world, he's trying to say people should be charged for water. And it says water shouldn't be a God-given right to everyone. And because they're saying that, you think, well, they charge for water anyways. No. When he says charge, they want to limit the amount of water you could buy a day. And if you rich, then you could just pay more and get more. But they want to limit. And they say water is not a human right. Water. So they're going after. This is why I say you have to be a prepper. Because they want full control. And even when you say, hey, I'm going to go off the grid in the States and stay in Babylon, they chemtrail. They have tested the rainwater, and now a lot of our rainwater, because they're still chemtrailing in the air, have heavy metals in it. Rainwater should be the most distilled water. If you caught rainwater and didn't come through your gutter into the roof and you just caught it in something clean, it's distilled water. You probably have to put some minerals in it or whatnot, but that should be the cleanest water on the planet. Probably cleaner than glacier water. So it's like, now I can't even drink rainwater without sending it through a charcoal filter, without filtering it out, because the stuff you're putting in the air, and it has nothing to do with no carbon monoxide. It's the aluminum and all the other stuff they're putting in there, right? So they are not done trying to take over the world. This is why you have to be a prepper. This is why you have to live off the grid. It wouldn't surprise me. I think there was a state, you guys could look it up, where they were trying to charge people. I think I brought it up a while ago. They were trying to charge people for their own wells. They spent I think to get a well dug, at least in California, was $10,000 a pop. And there's no guarantee they'll hit water. And I think their limit, they'll go 200 feet or 250 feet. If they don't hit water, then they stop. You know what I'm saying? Some charge by the footage. So, bam, you don't hit water. Bam, you don't hit water. This one guy bought a couple of acres. He tried 3 times to hit water, didn't hit water. Now he can't do nothing with the land. That's $30,000 down the drain. But imagine you spent $10,000 for a well to get dug. It went 150 feet, you hit water. Now you still should be taxed for that. That's what they're trying to make it. You didn't give me $10,000 to dig this well. Why are you charging me water for a well I dug? And this is coming from Nestle. Remember Nestle? which was notorious of going places and getting free water and selling it to you. And all the rural areas and all the suburbans that had wells just had to import their water, because Nestle would come and set up their manufacturer and drink up all the water. Look up Nestle. This is this head CEO of Nestle, and messing up everybody else who dug their wells. And your wells is, maybe 100 feet, 150 feet. And these Nestle company full going all the way and sapping up all the underground water. So now all these whole neighborhoods got to import their water because their wells dried up. That they spent $10,000 to get it done, or maybe they bought it and the well was there. All because of Nestle. Yeah, Nestle has a bad track record. So get ready for that. It's going down. Always stock up on water. I tell people, when you buy 1 can of meats, 1 can of fruits, 1 can of vegetables, every once in a while buy a 25-pound bag of rice. Learn how to mylar, learn how to oxygen absorb. Get prepared. You start off with 1 month. If the lights went out for 1 month, we're going to deal with it in a little bit. If the lights went out and stuff went haywire, hey, I have 1 month, at least have 1 month of toilet paper. Figure out how much toilet paper you use a week, times that by 4, put that up somewhere, double bagging in plastic bags so the moths and whatnot and those little weird looking centipede looking little things don't get into it. Store it up. You have a month's worth. Store up some meat, mylar some rice, mylar some beans, some oats, some cornmeal. Mylar that stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Save it for a month, and from there you go to 6 months, and from there you go to 1 year, and slowly just get it out. If you're going to use some of the cans, replace the cans. The next grocery shopping, a little bit at a time. Even if you do it once a week for your grocery shopping, it will add up very quickly. Within 1 month, you'll be surprised. Like, man, all right, I could survive maybe a couple of days. I'll be better off than the average okie dokie person that's running. Remember what happened with the Yoved vaccine, or the 2019, the virus that supposedly killed everyone? But so start prepping, especially with your rainwater. America Heart Association. Next topic. There was a law trying to be passed in Texas, which will ban EBT from covering soda, cookies, chips, and candies. And the Heart Association was trying to go against that being passed. The American Heart Association was trying to, and they got so much backlash, they pulled back. And then when you do the research, the American Heart Association, a lot of their funding come from the candy, the chips, the soda, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. A lot of their funding comes from them. And because they got so much backlash, they pulled back and they couldn't fight against it. Now, Texas is going to restrict cookies, candy, sodas, and whatnot. Now, Cola and Pepsi are going to lose billions of dollars. Not nationwide, but probably nationwide. But if all the states did this, they'll lose billions of dollars. I don't know how much in Texas exactly, but it's estimated $11 billion goes to soda on the SNAP and EBT food stamp program. Out of that, soda, which is very sad, from what they're saying, soda is the second most bought item that people get when they're on EBT or SNAP programs. So if all the nations, all the states went this route, which they should, and say, because it makes no sense. It says anything that doesn't have nutritional value. So cookies, soda, energy drinks, and I think it was something else, chips or something that has no nutritional value. EBT is not going to cover it no more. They already do it for cigarettes and alcohol and whatnot, so why not put it there? They're going to lose a lot of money, so they're trying to push against this because they don't care about your health, and neither do the American Heart Association. So I was sad that that's the second most bought item, because it's like you get 600 or 300 or whatever a week and you have kids, and the main stuff people buy is soda, not rice, beans, chicken, ground beef. Like, you could get some good steaks for your kids, some steaks and some potatoes. You could get steak and potato and buy one of those frozen cheesecakes and have them have a nice solid meal, and you choose to use it on soda? To be a diabetic? to clog your arteries, to be obese, to weaken your immune system. It's like, is it that bad that the majority of people, and I'm not even going to use EBT, it makes me consider the people that not on EBT, they're probably spending a lot of their stuff on soda. A lot of their stuff on soda. That's sad. When you go through and it's so bad that where you go through two aisles. One is sodas, and the next aisle is energy drinks and orange juice and grape juice that's full of sugar. They don't even have one aisle no more. It's two aisles. You have the Gatorades and all the sugary drinks, energy drink, and then you have all the sodas in this aisle. Look at your next grocery store. One aisle won't even do it. One aisle doesn't even do it. Of straight diabetes aisles. So, that's bad. All right. Last topic. The power outage covered Spain, Portugal, France, and Belgium. And it hasn't been this severe in 2 decades. And then now Indonesia is facing their power outage. And when we say power outage, it's not the normal ones. They're talking about airports were shut down. Like the whole thing, everything shut down. Police stations, everything shut down. They try to say that it was overloaded after the fact. But I want us to be prepared for that. If the power went out, what can I do? They have the little 11 and 20 app at Harbor Freight where you could power your laptop and your phones and keep up with the news. Or you could power a radio or whatnot, keep up with what's going on. Power your flashlights during the day. Maybe have a battery bank. I want to deal with that the other day, but Treevers United, we'll get on that. So you guys need to start prepping and seeing what you could do. Rechargeable. They have these bulbs that are rechargeable light bulbs. So if the power's out for a little bit, you got some light for a little bit. They got rechargeable flashlights. Have this stuff on deck. Start buying rechargeable batteries and keep them on deck to where you can still get stuff done. You don't want to be left out. And if we seek the spiritual, which came before the natural, when there's a natural situation, us that are spiritual should be ahead. I remember I was behind. I seen this guy, and he had a generator. His house he was plugged into his refrigerator and everything. And me, serving the Almighty, I was left out. It was the one in San Diego. And from then on, I was like, if there's ever an emergency, my family's not going to suffer like the rest of these people. Have cash on hand. Have dry powder. Have cash. Where if you can't get gas, you could go in the store and say, hey, I want 20 on this pump. Maybe the pumps are full electrical, so they still can't do it. But maybe they could pump it or something. I don't know. When you want to go get something out of the store and you have cash, instead of everything on a debit card, you could get some stuff done. So prepare yourself. When we see that stuff happen, don't think it can't happen to your state or your country. Say, hey, I want to be prepared. Because look at the disasters that happen. Where there's an earthquake, where are those camps? Where there's an earthquake, where are those camps when there's a fire? When there's a flood, where are those camps? They're sure on the streets screaming and cussing out people and showing their 12 tribe chart. And all those camps are super hard when it's good weather and everything. But let there be an emergency. Where are they at? Where are your brothers at? What is your brothers and sisters going to do if there's an earthquake? Where's your brothers and sisters going to do if there's a flood or you're out of power? It's going to be every man for himself. That's why I don't even trip on these camps, because most of these camps aren't preppers. And so I know all it's going to take is one emergency, and most of these false camps are going to scatter every man for himself like the cockroaches they are. And I'm not speaking for every camp out there, but some of these camps out there are straight nothing but cockroaches. And I know all it just takes is one earthquake and they're done. Because you're not a prepper. None of your congregations are preppers. So it's going to be by default every man from themselves. They may call and try to help out here and there, but as a group or as a whole, that camp is going to be destroyed. They're going to disperse. They may come together if the power come back, but where were you? But same thing. They're going to be done for. So that's why I don't even worry about these camps out there. If they're not prepping, you're not doing anything. We're trying to get a life to where we can overcome the mark of the beast, the number of his name, and the image of the beast. They're already pushing in 2030, and they're already pushing this real ID. They're already trying to make smart cities. They're already trying to make it to where you're dependent on them for food, for air, for water, for everything. So if they're not pushing being a prepper, and they're pushing the 12 tribe chart for the next 5 years, they're going to get destroyed. They're worried about a false Roger Bourgeois picture. They're worried about the 12 tribe chart. They're worried about who's the Edomite. And then the whole congregation is just going to take one flood, one earthquake, one one fire, one anything. And where are you guys at? You guys were together on the streets, but are you guys together now? No, they're not. So, with all that said being done, keep standing, don't drop standing, give the Almighty a hand clap. Shalom.